Hey everybody, welcome back, or welcome to the channel if you haven't been here before. My name's Gabe. I used to do a lot of outdoor stuff on my channel, but I'm taking things in a different direction now. This is going to be part one of my custom desk build, and I figured I would go ahead and start out by
74 Butcherblock top
island that's from Home Depot. Brand new, still wrapped. The plan is going to be to remove 8 inches from the depth of it. So it'll give me a 31-inch deep by 74-inch long desk. The 8-inch cutoff piece is actually going to be turned into a shelf. I will be staining and finishing this as well. They were from Amazon. I don't remember the exact price, but they were pretty cheap. I think around $100. They come with all the hardware, a little height adjusting feet. See right here, they just screw in. You can adjust the height. If it'll focus on it, there we go. I'm going to put some felt bottoms on these so they don't mess up the hardwood floor. Go ahead and open these up so you can see what they look like. Well, I see what they look like because I have not opened these yet. There they are. This will be the top. That's where the shelf is going to go. So that 8-inch piece will go on here. I'm going to cut an angle so that way it'll actually slide in there. It'll fit real nice. And that will actually be on the back part towards the wall. But you can, well, you may or may not be able to see. It comes pre-drilled to mount on the desk. What I will be using for that, instead of screwing straight into the wood, because I don't like that idea, is a combination of these little threaded inserts. You drill a hole, you thread these in, and then you can put a screw in. I've also got matching screws and lock washers. So the whole tabletop will be mounted with these, the shelf will be mounted with these. The brace piece, because I'm also adding a brace, that will also be for hiding wires, whatnot, is this piece of aluminum channel, 6 feet long. I'm going to drill holes in it. It will be mounted to the desk, the bottom of the desk, and to the legs. I'm going to actually drill through and mount it to the legs too. But it'll be mounted this way, so if you're facing the desk, so it gives a little channel where you can hide wires, you can mount stuff to it and whatnot, and it also gives it a lot more rigidity and a bit more bracing between each leg. Since there's just going to be the shelf on the bottom and the tabletop, I wanted to add a third twist point. I picked up a cheap little orbital sander to use for sanding the top because the old one that I had was very much dead. And then I've got some pre-stain conditioner, stuff that you should use whenever you're going to do bare wood staining. Helps keep it from being blotchy and absorbing too much stain. This is the stain that I'm going to try. It's actually a poly and stain mixed. It's all water based. I had looked at oil based, but I like the idea of water. Less vapors and just less toxic. And basically just sanding stuff, mixing sticks, a bunch of brushes and other sanding things. Nothing real exciting. These are the screws that are going to be used. I don't know if you can even read that, probably not. They're just machine screws. They're 1/4 by 20 by 3/4 inch machine screws. They fit those thread-in nuts just fine. But anyway, that's what I'm using to build the desk. There's a lot of other additional parts. Got it up here on a couple of sawhorses. We will get to those as we get to those. Make sure you can handle doing that if you're going to do it on your own, otherwise get some help. This top weighs approximately 106 pounds, so it's not real easy to move around. Make sure if you put it on something that it's stable. I have this sitting on the sawhorse, but it is off the edge, so that way I can cut the 8-inch off the width, or technically the depth. But it is still very stable just due to its own weight. Some of the other stuff I'll be using, just to show, I've got my hearing protection, I've got my eye protection. I will also be wearing gloves because I've had some some nasty splinters, and I don't like those, so I'm going to try to avoid that. Got a tape measure to mark stuff out. Got some clamps over here, because I will be using this old piece of trim. I will measure and clamp it on here to use as a straight edge. The reason I use it as a straight edge is because I don't have a table saw or anything like that. So I'll be using circular saw. One thing to remember if you're using a circular saw, cut from the back side. If you cut from the top side, it could splinter it. So you want to cut it from the back side. It'll make a cleaner cut on the other side. You can also lay a strip of masking tape where you're going to cut, which I do plan to do. And it will help with splintering to a degree as well. I think that's about it. The other things to remember, I noticed it says on here, once you unwrap this, you have to get it sealed and finished within 48 hours. The purpose of that is the humidity and moisture and stuff will soak right into the wood, cause it to expand, it could split at the seams, it could just be bad. So make sure that you have everything planned out and you're ready as soon as you cut this plastic, and you can just go until the top is actually finished. It's probably going to be a pretty good process. I'm going to start with staining and sealing the bottom, so that way it has time to set up before I flip it over, and then I'll do the tops and the edges. The issue with that is obviously I'm cutting part off. I have to drill all kinds of holes and whatnot and mark all those out. I could do it before finishing, I could do it after finishing. It just kind of depends. I think I'm probably just going to do it after and not worry about that too much, just so I can go a little quicker. And the top all vacuumed off here, and I went ahead and vacuumed up all the sawdust off the floor. Just real quick, I'm going to give it a wipe down with a microfiber cloth, and then I'll hit it with a tack cloth as well, just make sure I get as much of the dust off as possible before I hit it with the poly stain. The stuff I got's a combination of stain and polyurethane. Just it's simple to use, and I've used it before when I did a dining table, so I know it works pretty good. I will have to hit with some pre-stained conditioner, so that'll actually be going on first, and I'm gonna let that dry, and once that dries, then I can put the standard poly on. That makes sure it's not too blotchy or anything. Get a good stain. Now this is the bottom, so I didn't put a whole lot of effort into sanding it, so it's pretty smooth. It's not perfect, but once again, it's the bottom. Because I can definitely feel it with the cloth here where there's some kind of rough spots. A couple tack cloths here. Tack cloths are always a real good idea. You just want to make sure, one, that you don't contaminate your spares, but two, you don't want to push down real hard, because this stuff will end up sticking, and then you'll just have a big mess all over the place. I'm not worried about the sides right now at all. They're going to get done when I do the top. So that way, if I have any drips or anything by chance, they can run down and it won't be a big deal, because I'll be doing the sides at the same time, so I can get them wiped. But if I just do the bottom and have a drip run down and then end up on the top, it can really mess the top up. I've actually seen videos of other people doing exactly that, and it's bad. It's not easy to fix. It would require sanding out the top a lot to get down past all the stain, and we just don't want to do that. So that other side was pretty much a train wreck. We're going to call that no good. I think it was just too hot and humid for that finish, so it's extremely blotchy and just turned out overall terrible. So I picked up some normal black walnut, or not black walnut, dark walnut stain, and the triple thick polyurethane coating. So I'm going to do it in a two-step, but I'm still going to go through. I'm going to sand this down just like I did before. I'm going to put the pre-stained conditioner and then sand it again, and then I'll do the normal stain. Once that dries, then I'll put actual poly on here. So that's where we're going to go from now. So I'm just going to do more of the same. Well, I didn't show what it looked like earlier, but it's all stained now. Here we are again. This probably looks drastically different than the first parts of this video did because I actually learned how to use my camera for one. So the colors are much more accurate. I had put the poly on. There was some brush strokes and whatnot. So I went back and did a light sand to it, and then that was with wet 400 grit. And then I used some quad zero steel wool, also wet, to try to get the rest of them. And it got most of them, but when I was wiping it off, there was actually stain coming off on the rag, which means I apparently went a little bit too deep. So I'm going to go ahead and recoat it with poly again and let it sit for another week. Hopefully I don't get as many brush strokes this time, but if I do, then I'll do another light sand, but I'll actually keep it light enough this time. So I'll go ahead and shoot that and let you see how I poly it, and hopefully it goes better this time. Dry like that, and then either it'll flatten out or it won't. I'm probably gonna have to come back and clean up brush strokes again. When I do, I'll do the same thing, some 400 grit wet, but I'm not gonna take it too far. I'll just do it just very lightly, just a little bit, just to get it smooth enough, and we'll call it good. So I'll bring you back when that's dry and we can go to that step.
Well, it's dry to the touch now, so I figured I'd show you the final results here. I'm gonna try to walk slow so it's not too shaky. See, it's very smooth. All the brush strokes actually flattened out this time. This one corner is a little bit dark from the stain, but I don't mind that. It's got some imperfections here and there. There's maybe a slight bit of brush stroke to it, but it's all with the grain, so it's like barely even noticeable. I may go ahead and do a little light polish with the wet steel wool in a week, but I'm not going to touch it right now. But that's how it turned out, and that'll be it for part one. Part two will be when I flip it over to do the legs and stuff, and you'll get to see that horrible bottom side. So I'll catch you back then for part two. I hope you enjoy. If you do, like, subscribe, and share. Thanks.